Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Wealth and Wisdom with Fred Belcastro from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Friday, December the 5th, the year 2014. And now, here he is, Fred Belcastro.
When you're smiling, when you're smiling, when you're smiling, when you're smiling, and the whole world smiles with you. And when you're laughing, oh, you're laughing, when the sun comes shining through. When you're crying, you bring on the rain. Stop your sighing. Won't you be happy again? When you're smiling, keep on smiling, and the world will smile.
Good morning and welcome once again to the Wealth and Wisdom program. My name and host is Fred Belcastro. With me in the broadcast center is John DeVita, taking care of the controls. The Wealth and Wisdom program, where we take wealth and wisdom and try to apply wisdom to your wealth. Before I get into this morning's program, I'd like to discuss or just recap what we talked about a little bit last week. We talked about a good offense being a good defense. Remember, again, we said that just getting a high return on your investments is not your only concern. First, you have to take care of those eroding factors, those things that are looking to rob you of your money. Before you can claim any type of victory over it, over an investment or a decision that you've made, the eroding factors, those things that come into play, can just steal away your money. Remember, my partner Sam always said, there's more money in the elimination of the eroding factors than there is in finding the right investments. And that's so true, because you could have the finest investments all the way through your career, 35, 40 earning years, and still wind up with little or nothing at the end of the line because it's been taken away from you by these factors, if we call them. What's good about this way of looking at the amount of dollars that you have is that you already have the money. Remember, we joke about keeping it in a dining room table. You have a 30 or 40 year earning period of time in which to earn a fine living, and this amount of money could total up to $3, $4, even $6 million through your earning lifetime. Well, this is money that you're going to have. This is money that's in your possession. So you don't have any risk. You've got great results since the money is yours already. So by keeping it in your piggy bank, keeping most of the money yourself, you can avoid having it taken away from you. So let's look at some of these factors and see where we could be making mistakes with our dollars. First of all, we've talked about it in the past that money is not math and math is not money. And we mean by that simply mean, and using the illustration of the oranges once again, we have 5 oranges, we put them on the table, we leave them there 5, 10, 15, or 30 years. 30 years we come back, how many oranges do we have? Do we still have oranges? We've lost the oranges. The oranges have rotten, they've spoiled, birds have taken them, squirrels have. In other words, they've eroded. They're gone. Well, that's the way it is with our dollars. Because of these factors involved with our money, our dollars don't stay the same as well. The eroding factors are the reason why most people run into financial problems. It's not the investments that we make, although we could make some better choices perhaps, but it's the erosion of our dollars. And just highlighting some of those erosions, we look at inflation. Now, when I began the program several weeks ago, we talked about what the amount of inflation has been. And I did a run-through of 1930 to 2014, and we came up with a figure of 3.25%. So this means that your dollars are actually losing 3.23% each year. They're losing the value. So your dollars, if they're not earning 3.25% today, you're not really ahead. You're not getting anywhere. And that's what the inflation can do to your dollars. That's why it's so important to protect that. How are you protecting your money today, your earning capacity, against the ravages of inflation? Another one is taxes. How are you protecting your pot of gold, your nest egg, the bathtub money, the money in the dining room table, the $3 million that you're going to bring home in your lifetime? How are you protecting it from taxes? Now, we're not talking about not paying taxes. We're talking about paying unnecessary taxes. Do you have a protection in place for that? How about the technological changes that occur? Keeping up with the Joneses. Are we still trying to do that? How about the planned obsolescence? How about financial expenses? How much does it cost us to run our 401s? What's the management fees that we're paying? 3-4% was shown. And that adds up to a lot of money. Again, what are you getting in a bank today? 1% or less? Now, your management expenses are 4% of your nest egg? Is your inflation at 3% or greater? Are you protecting this money? You see, we talk about protecting the money that we have on the dining room table or our potential earnings by locking all the doors, getting a security system. But what are we doing to protect it from these eroding factors? How about the lost opportunity costs we spent several weeks on? All right, interest rate declines. We have individuals that are retired today that need the interest payments because they live on those interest payments. When we have a situation like we're occurring now, we don't get the interest. We don't get the payments that we're expected to pay our bills with. Are our bills any less today than they were last year, the year before, the year before? Of course they're not. It's silly to even think so. How about the stock market declines? Does our life, does our retirement, does our good fortune, does our lives depend really on what the stock market does? Do we have to run home and listen to what the Dow Jones did? What are we doing to protect ourselves against the stock market losses? How about the interest charges and fees that we pay? We pay these fees to finance companies, the credit card companies, automobile financing. What are we doing to protect ourselves from that? And how about the lawsuits? The number one, what would we do if we were sued? See, so money is not the same. Money is not a dollar amount. Money is not math. Math isn't money. To protect yourself from this, the key, 3 of them actually, one is to avoid the erosion. Keep your money away from the eroding factors. Protect your dollars. Keep it working for you. Did you ever notice any of the institutions that we talked about, the corporations, the financial institutions and banks, what they do with their money? Now, they'll always tell you to buy and hold. Hold for the long term, and I've always just stuck my tongue in my cheek and said, the long term, we're all dead. What do they mean, hold for the long term? But what do they do with their money? Do they put it in one specific investment and leave it there? Banks are notorious. They turn that money around 6 or 7 times. They might pay you 0.5%, and they're developing maybe 16, 17, 18% by the time with your money. See, the problem, as it's been, is doing all this in light of the misinformation, the bad advice. Now we can go to our newspapers and find out how to take care of our money. We could read a magazine. How many magazines are there in the newsstands that tell us how we should plan for our money? How many books? Remember I talked about the seminars in various libraries and going out into the library and looking at hundreds and hundreds of books. Each book is giving advice. Is it misadvice, misinformation? Only if we apply it perhaps in the wrong situations. How about on TV? I hate to say this, but how about over the radio? Today everybody's an expert. Even good advice is misleading if we are only talking and if you're only listening to what the advantages of the specific advice is. No disadvantages, right? Where have we heard about an investment or a program of investments in which they disclose what the bad information or the bad bad advantages were the disadvantages. We never hear those. Does that mean there aren't any? And when we look at individual investments or individual programs of investments, there's no one. I'm asked constantly, what should my money be in right now? Well, if there was a secret investment that we had at Merrill Lynch or we had in any of the wirehouses, everybody would be on it. We're living, this is 2014. Everybody will know about it, so there's no one financial product that'll work along to make everything work smoothly. It just isn't done. It's the thinking. It's what we've been led to believe. The thinking could lead us to mistakes. If we were to just buy in to the simple programming that's being done today, I think we'd be making a mistake. I think we'd be making a big mistake, because buying into some of this misinformation is just plain wrong. I like to use the illustration of just a bridge. If we were to build a bridge, the reason for the bridge is to get the people over the water, to get them on the other side. But it's got to be more than that. It's got to protect them in the event of a tornado. It's got to be strong enough to protect them in the event of a tornado. How about thunderstorms? How about a flood? How about earthquakes? The bridge has to withstand the possibility of earthquakes. So what I'm saying is that it's got to stand up in all situations. No matter what happens in the future, the engineers have to come up with a system, a development, a structure that's going to stand the test of time. And that's the same way it is with our individual programs and our individual investments and our plans. Why don't we just take a break and listen to some thoughts about money?
You know, the landlord rang my front door bell. I let him ring for a long, long spell. I went to the window and peeped through the blind and asked him to tell me what was on his mind. He said, "Money, honey, yes, money, honey, money, honey. If you wanna stay here with me, I was clean as a screen and so hard pressed. I called the woman that I love the best. I finally got my baby about 3:30. She said, I'd like to know what you want with me. I said, money, honey, money, honey, money, honey. If you wanna get along with me, she screamed and said, what's wrong with you? From this day on, our romance is through. I said, tell me, baby, face to face, how could another man take my place? She said, money, honey, money, honey, oh, money, honey. If you wanna get along with me,
Obviously, that was Money Honey by the Drifters, and we have thanks to Ron who emailed that suggestion into me. As I mention each week, we'll welcome your suggestions, your comments, your questions, either on an email or by calling a line, my line, area 630-673-4360. Or if you prefer to email, its email address is fbelsecure, that's FBELSECURE at AOL.com. So thanks for that, Ron. I hope that people enjoyed it. By the Drifters, we haven't heard from the Drifters in an awfully long time. Do you remember years ago when we did planning, we used to we planned for short term. Remember that? 1 to 5 years. We'd say, well, if you need the money within a period of 1 or 5 years, this is the type of program that you should be in. Or there was a medium, an intermediate term, 10 to 15 years, and the kids' education would fall into those years. And then there was the long term, where you'd put your money away, perhaps for the rainy days, for retirement. And now today, what do we hear? Oh, I hear on the radio, 401. Everybody's a 401 expert, a 401 rollovers. And I'll tell you why everybody's a 401 and a 401k rollover expert, is because that's where it is. That's where the money is. That's what Willie Sutton said. That's where the money is. And so we're always talking about putting money away for retirement. Well, how about the kids' education? How about the things we need today? See, we have people that can't afford the homes, perhaps because they have all their money, all their savings is locked up in the 401ks. How about the necessity for an emergency fund? It's locked up in a 401k, and there's some provisions to take a limited amount of dollars as a withdrawal, but you've got to pay it back, and when you pay it back, you're paying it with after-tax dollars. That's a whole nother set of circumstances. But how do you get out of these retirement plans? In other words, let's suppose that we're at 60 years old or 65 and 70 when we have to start, 70 and a half, I know, that you have to start withdrawing these funds. But what's our exit strategy? Do we have one? What happens if I lose my job? What happens to my retirement planning? What happens if I become disabled? Is there a way to get the money? How am I protecting these dollars? All right. How about what happens because I don't have control of this? Who has control? This is a government-sponsored program. What happens if they change the law? Now you have to wait until 59 and a half to withdraw the dollars without a penalty. How about if they change that to 65? Would that make a difference in your plan? Remember we talked about building a bridge, building a plan, building a program that'll meet all contingencies? What happens if somebody else changes the rules over which we have no control over? What do we do then? What plan do we have? How have we protected ourselves? We don't do the short-term, long-term. We don't think of anything other than the 401. 401 seems to have been the answer to salvation to all of our problems as far as retirement is concerned. But when we see that Terry Savage talks about $150,000 in a retirement 401k, that's all the money they have, that hasn't been the salvation. That hasn't been, something that we could live on for the rest of our lives. Don't forget, there's today as well. We have to be able to live today. And when we put all of our eggs into just one basket, it's going to limit the choices, because don't forget, we talk about the advantages to these programs. There are also disadvantages. It takes a variety of tools. It takes a variety of investments and programs working together in harmony to give us a good relationship with our dollars. I like to use the advantage. I don't play golf, but I look at the golfers' clubs. They got 6, 7, 10, 12 different clubs. They have a putter for the short term on the golf, the chipper, the brassy, the drivers, the 2, 3, 5 iron, mid irons. You see, it takes all those irons. It takes a preponderance of things in order to play the game, and that's the way it is in our financial planning as well. No one tool is going to do it. When we look at the questions that are given to us now. Years ago, when we did need planning, and remember, when I talk about need planning, it's a mistake. Need planning is just nothing more than trying to predict what the future is going to be. Listen to me. Let me tell you what I mean. What age do you want to retire? Has any advisor ever asked you that? What age do you want to retire? All right. How much income will you need when you retire? And how long do you think you'll need that money? Let me go back. What age do you want to retire? How do you know when you're 25 or 30 years old what age you want to retire? How do you know what your health is going to be, what your family situation is going to be? How do you know if you want to retire at 50? Oh, I want to retire at 40. How do you know? What circumstances, what life? This talk about wisdom. Let's use a little wisdom here. Does any plans ever go just as you would like to have them? Life takes a bite out of all of us. Things change. I know individuals that, listen, I talked to a fellow yesterday. He's 76 years old. He has no plans of retiring. He doesn't want to retire because he found a fulfillment in his life by continuing doing what he enjoys doing. So that's a ridiculous question. What age do you want to retire? Who knows? And how much income? How much income are you going to need at retirement? In other words, we're asking this 30-year-old guy what he's going to need 35 years from now. If he's going to retire at 65, how much income he's going to need? Years ago, when we set up plans, or my life insurance programs, as they were called, we said the same questions. Well, how much are you going to need? Let's say you're making $20,000 now. 70% of that is what you need to retire. Now, that's a mistake, isn't it? But nevertheless, this is the way planning worked. 70% is what you're going to need, so that's $14,000, $15,000. So you set up a program so this guy can retire today with $15,000 a year income? Where does that put him? Puts him in a worm farm, my friend. How long do you think you'd want the money to continue? How long do you think you'd want the money to continue? In other words, how long do you want to live? That's ridiculous. That's one of the silliest statements. When I was born in the year 1938, the life expectancy, I should have been dead by now. Not talking to you, I should have been dead. You see, you can't go by the facts and the figures. Why do we have to plan for limiting ourselves? Why do we have to say, well, I'm going to get 15 or 20 or 25,000 or $30,000 a year income? You know, with plenty of money, and many a times we don't have to worry because we have plenty of money. And that's what Dick Ames and Nancy Marino have to say on this next song that we're going to play. They say, with plenty of money and you.
lot of things, and you could take me to places we'd like to go. But outside of that, I'd know you would go. It's the root of all evil, of strife in the people. I have certain, honey, life could be sunny with plenty of money and you.
Thank you, with plenty of money in you. Well, if we're just doing need planning, looking at figures and trying to force dollars into math and math into dollars, this type of planning, we'll find that it's totally wrong, and we'll really have little chance in helping people. That's why people are undergoing difficult times now. It's very difficult to succeed in meeting our full potential and our financial goals. Let me end by saying there's really two things that we can do. We can take one road where we set a limit, we do the need planning, we try to predict the future, and we pre-design our needs and goals and targets, and then we hope that interest rates, inflation, and opportunity costs don't change too much over the next 35 years, which we know is silly. The other way is let's build a plan, let's build a bridge that maximizes, doesn't set limits, maximizes our performance for our income and our assets, and to maximize the opportunity to surpass, to create more. I don't want just so much money. I want all I could get out of the amount of assets that I have, maximizing the opportunity to go beyond the needs, simple needs and goals. And at the same time, let's keep in mind, my friends, always to protect yourself and your dollars from the eroding factors. The choice is obvious, which people would want to take. Most people would of course take the second choice, where they don't limit themselves and they protect their dollars, they protect their families and their future. Many people just don't know that such a plan, such a choice is available to them. Well, in signing off, this is like Dean Martin used to say, keep those cards and letters coming in. I welcome your suggestions. I enjoy being with you each week. And have a great week and be kind to one another. We'll see you tomorrow, Sam.
When you're smiling,
When you're smiling,
when you're smiling,
when you're smiling,
and the whole world smiles with you.
smiles with you.
And when you're laughing,
When you're laughing,
oh, you're laughing.
oh, you're laughing,
When the sun comes shining through.
shining through.
When you're crying,
When you're crying,
you bring on the rain.
bring on the
Stop
rain.
your sighing.
Stop your sighing,
Won't you be happy again?
happy again.
When you're smiling,
When you're smiling,
keep on smiling.
keep on smiling.
And the world will smile with you.
You have been listening to Wealth and Wisdom with Fred Belcastro from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Jack FM 89.7, WRHS FM Norwich, and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Friday, December the 5th. This broadcast was directed by John DeVita, and our thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zeflik and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Seconda. Until next time, please be safe and thanks for listening. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, November the 19th, the year 2014. And we are Jack FM 89.7, WRHS FM Norwich, and Jack Frost 88.1 FM, WXMS Harwood Heights, Illinois.